So for those who missed it, the reason that we're starting earlier today is because there is going to be a new moon connection. So I wouldn't want you to miss it if you want to participate, but here we don't want to miss either our class, thanks to Steve, who gave the brilliant idea. Okay. So we're going to read from the energy of this week in the Zohar, and as we know, as we have learned, strangely enough, when we are connecting to the energy or the consciousness, the meaning of the week, strangely enough, it has to do with what's going on in the universe, what kind of message do we need to hear in our personal life. I mean, I'm saying strange, but we know that it's no coincidence. So I'll read from the Zohar to connect to the energy of Rabbi Shimon. ואלה תולדות יצחק וגומר. פתח רבי חייא ואמר, מי ימלל גבורות השם ישמיע כל תהילתו תחזקה דבעה קודשה ברכו וסלק בראותה קמה למברא, על מה הווה מסתכל באורייתא וברא לה, ובכל עובדה ועובדה דברה קודשה ברכו מעל מה, הווה מסתכל באורייתא וברא לה, הדאו דכתיב ואהיה אצלו המון ואהיה. שעשועים יום אל תקרא המון אלא אומן. So again, I'm not talking so much ever about the literal meaning, or I would say like the literal meaning, the historical meaning of the portion, because it has little significance to what the essence of the message really is from the Torah, translated by Rabbi Shimon in the Zohar. And so we are picking up on some of this aspect because, like filtering down to us, we can only do the best that we can to try and interpret what Rabbi Shimon is explaining, teaching to us. And so it says, Patach Rabbi Chaya ve'amar, and so there is a discussion, and most of the study, most of the teachings of Rabbi Shimon comes from a discussion amongst the friends. And so imagine that you get together with friends like once a week or so, like we do right now, and they have like a brainstorm about what would be the meaning of the portion. And so the thing is that from their interpretation, they would take like a text, and then they would simply and purely channel everything that is written in the Torah, as opposed to what they do in a yeshiva, for example, which is like a place of learning, specifically meant to learn the Torah. Like they have like all these writings, like the Mishnah, the Midrash, the different writings, the different sculptures, the Talmud, to decipher what's written in the Torah. But all of it is like from the aspect of the literal translation of the Bible. That's not what the Zohar is doing most of the time, because we're going to read like the translation of what the friends are discussing, and it has nothing to do with the literal story that's written. And this is the portion of the legacy, the generations that come after Isaac. Isaac is the son of Abraham and the father of Jacob. So the legacy of Yitzchak is basically Jacob and Esau. So from the two of them, the two brothers, the two twin brothers, came all the generation, from, I would say, like the good and the bad. Although in the spiritual realm, we don't believe that there is such a thing as good and bad. We believe that there is a matter of choice, we making choices, and this is what makes it, good or bad in a translated aspect of our own experience as a human being. But it says, פתח רבי חייא ואמר, מי ימלל גבורות השם, ישמיע קול תהילתו, בוא וראה, כשביקש הקדוש ברוך הוא, when the creator asked, ועלה ברצון לפניו, לברוא העולם, a desire to create the world, to create the universe. And in order to do that, it's like, imagine like a painter or an architect. And so picture, like a painting class, and in the middle of the circle of painters, you have a model. This is how we call it, like a model, who is going to stand with clothing, with an apple on the head, or naked, or whatever it is, a model. And so the painters that are standing in circle, they're going to look at, the model in the middle, and they're going to, translate what they see on the canvas. מסתכל בתורה וברא אותו. So the creator would look on the Torah and create the universe. So it is as if the perfected manifestation of creation would be in the Torah, and then he would decipher it, manifested as the physical creation. So the physical creation is the canvas, and the model is the Torah. In another metaphor that we can use is with the architect. The architect, in order to build a bridge or to build a new building, he needs a blueprint. You would have no building of any sort if there is no architectural plans. Because the architectural plans are going to be used, first by the maker, the architect, and then the planner, the electrician, and the plumber, and like all the different, the air conditioning, and the alarm system, and the sparkling, the sprinklers, like all those things need to be on the plan, right? And then you're going to have like the person who's going to come and is going to put like all the drywalls and like everything is going to follow. Everybody is going to follow that blueprint, that original blueprint. And so this is like, as a metaphor, the metaphor for this physical creation, we need to know that in order to create something as perfect as life, there has to be a blueprint. So for anybody that says, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in, there has to be something in order to create something that is this beautiful and perfect. I'm not talking about chaos. I'm talking about life. I'm talking about nature. I'm talking about, how everything is like in such a perfected orchestrated ecosystem. And if something is out of balance, then everything is out of balance. So if you go in the jungle, or if you go in the desert, or if you go in the safari, or if you go, there has to be a perfect balance. And everything falls into place. And in the same way that you need to have a model for the painter, or you're going to have, you have I have like all these images that are coming up, that are popping up in my mind. Like even if you have like a person who that doesn't need, like a model. There are some people that just use the imagination, right? Like they don't need like a physical model. Doesn't matter. Like the imagination is the model, right? Or you have like somebody who has a photographic memory. The photographic, what is seen, that's the what's gonna go into the canvas. I think I mentioned it like maybe like some time ago about this guy that has this amazing skill. He flew over the city of London just once, over like a 40 minutes ride on a helicopter. And they put him into a room like with a huge wall. and he started to draw the entire city. Not only he drew the entire city, but he drew the entire city with the most perfect and smallest details that anybody that would like fly or that would even take a picture and try to redo it would miss half of it. So even that example is that for this amazing, skilled genius, not painter, drawer, let's call him this way, he has to have that picture in his memory to decipher it onto the wall, into the drawing. So as you take any example that we can think of, like we have even like Mozart that manifested some of those symphonies out of a dream, right? Out of a dream. There has to be a base in order to manifest something that doesn't make sense, and it came out as a perfection. So he tapped into something that is in the upper world, and the gate for that upper world is the dream, and that's another total different concept and discussion. How we can get like a lot of dreams, a lot of messages through our dreams.
Yay. That's the baby.
That's the baby, thank you. And so, היה מסתכל בתורה וברא אותו. So the Creator would look into the Bible and created the world. ובכל פעולה ופעולה שברא הקדוש ברוך הוא בעולם, and for every action or task that the Creator did for the creation, he inspired it from the Bible. היה מסתכל בתורה וברא. He was looking into the Torah and he was creating. וזה שכתוב, והיה אצלו המון ויהיה שעשועים יום יום. אל תקרא המון אלא אומן. And so he was like the Zohar, Rabbi Shimon, is like playing with the words here, because he says don't call it Amon, like don't call it like like a lot of creations or tasks that the creator did, but Oman. So using like the same letters, but reversing the Vav from the fourth to the second letter. And what is Oman? Oman is artist, and this is what the creator is described as. The creator is described as an artist. דהיינו שהייתה כלי אמונתו. So the Torah was an instrument for the sake of the end, which is to manifest our creation. וכשרצה לברוא את האדם, and when the creator wanted to create men, אמרה התורה לפניו. The Torah came to the creator as sort of like an artificial intelligence. The Torah comes to the creator and says, אם יהיה נברא אדם, ואחר כך יחטא. So if you're going to create that thing that you call man, he is destined to sin. ואתה תדון אותו. למה יהיה מעשה ידיך לשווה? הרי לא יוכל לסבול את דינך. Why are you settling that creature for failure? Because you know that he's going to sin, and he's not going to stand the amount or the extent of your judgment. Man will not be able, doesn't have the capacity to stand your judgment. אמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא, and the creator is answering to the Torah, having a conversation with the Torah, הרי בראתי תשובה מטרם שבראתי העולם. And the answer is, before creating men, I created redemption. And so yes, this man, this child, is going to sin, but I offer him the ability to redeem what he's done. הרי בראתי תשובה מטרם שבראתי העולם. The only way that I can create the world is based on mercy. So yes, there is going to be judgment, and judgment is coming from whatever actions that we're putting out there that is not merciful and forgiving and loving. But most of it is man-made. The Creator does not create hatred for no reason. That's all the doing of man. If man is going to sin, יוכל לעשות תשובה והמחול לו. He will be able to redeem himself, to do redemption, to do tshuva, and I will forgive him. So if we go back to the story of creation, it says that, cutting a long story short, that is actually the first story in man's history, and maybe like the source of why or where men started to blame women. And that is the story of Adam and Eve. And the story of Adam and Eve is, again, making a long story short, they are in the Garden of Eden, and they have everything for themselves. They have like gazillion of trees, physical, emotional, spiritual, to eat from, to nurture themselves from. And they can get endless satiety, endless fulfillment from them. And at the very core, the very center of the Garden of Eden, there is one tree that is probably the most attractive one, and therefore the one that you cannot eat and should not eat, because if you eat from that tree, then you're going to connect to something that is not endless. That's called, basically, in layman terms, instant gratification. So the Creator is telling them, you can eat from all those trees and you'll get just about everything and anything that you ever desire as far as your fulfillment. Because anything that you want in this physical world, at the end of it, ends with fulfillment. Why are you doing this? Because it makes me happy. Why do you do this? Because it gives me pleasure. Anything that you can think of that is physical, that is emotional, anything that you can think of, it's only for the sake of getting fulfillment, of being happy, of finding joy. Or why you sharing with your kids? Because it makes me happy. Why you going volunteer in a shelter? Because it's the right thing to do, because it makes me happy, because it gives me joy, because it gives me purpose. Because anything that you would think about is for the sake of tapping into something that is not physical, but at the end of the day, we're using something that is physical as a means to the end, and the end is ultimately what we are seeking since the beginning of time, which is endless fulfillment. The punishment, by the way, from eating from the tree of knowledge, good and bad, is to consistently seeking over and over for that endless fulfillment. But it's a curse, because part of this physical reality, there is no such a thing as endless fulfillment. There is fulfillment, there is joy, there is pleasure, but nothing in this physical reality can ever give us this lasting fulfillment. And that is the repercussion of touching the tree of knowledge, good and bad. There was the tree of life that was made of gazillion of trees. Eat from any of those trees. You see this one? Don't touch this one. So the snake, which represents a force, an intelligent force, and that force is the innate force that is called the desire to receive for the self alone. The evil inclination. It doesn't sound good, the evil inclination, but it is that aspect in us that is the self-sabotage, is the one that knows that if I'm going to eat this, by tomorrow I'm going to get on the scale and I'll be 2 pounds extra. And there is that force in us that says, oh, but you know what? It's worth it. And then you have to do whatever it takes to go back to what it was. Likely it's never like that, but anyway. It is that force that is innate in us, that tricks us, into the instant gratification. And so that's the snake. Adam and Eve represent that male and female aspect also that exists in each one of us. So we think about Adam and Eve as men and women. But the Zohar doesn't translate Adam and Eve as men and women. Men represents the Adamah, the earth. And the female aspect is innate in each one of us. The Zohar, I don't want to drive you nuts, but the way that the Zohar describes Adam and Eve, they were born back to back. So again, we're talking here about spiritual beings. We're not talking about, people like you and me looking the way that we look. There were spiritual beings, and there was some aspect of elevated physicality of them. But they would be as far as possible to what human beings look like today. And so they were born back to back. And in other words, they were the same person, the male and the female aspect that there is in us. Like, today, like in biology, we'll call it like the chromosomes, like the X and the Y. But, like each one of us has both chromosomes. Each one of us has the male and the female aspect. So in energy, the way that we learn it in Kabbalah is that we have like the right column and the left column. Going back into the explanation of the story is that, eventually the snake tricks the female from, how do we call this? From, what's the word? That word escapes me. So to save herself, let's just call it this way, she tricks Adam because she tells herself, if I'm going to be discovered and Adam didn't sin, it would be very easy. That was the calculation. It would be very easy to replace me. But if I get Adam to also sin, then the creator would have to start over again. But if you're talking about the creator can just do that and everything is replaced. But anyway, that was like the calculation in the Midrash, the way that it is explained. Not saying that it's exactly how it unfolded, but anyway. So she goes and she tricks Adam. What happens? What's the scene, Ellen? What's the scene that happens right after that? Now she's meditating, George. It's okay. Let her. So what's the scene that happens right after that? Go ahead. Anybody? So they sin, they eat from the apple. What happens right after that?
They can see each other.
They realize they're naked and they hide from God.
Very good. What happens right after that?
God comes looking for them. Oh, does someone else want to answer?
No. Keep going. You're doing well.
God comes looking for them, but he knows where they are already.
So what is the creator doing next?
He knows that they've sinned and he asks them, why do you hide from them? And he throws them out of the garden because they ate from the tree.
Right there, you went too fast. So right before that, right before throwing them out, the first thing that comes out of the mouth of the creator is Adam Ayeka. Which means Adam, which is in Aramaic. Adam, where are you? Where are you? So it's like what the creator doesn't see where he is. The creator is not asking Adam, where are you physically? The creator is asking Adam, Where are you in your consciousness? And the next question is what? What have you done? Why are you asking what have you done? I'll give you another example as a metaphor. So the two pictures that are coming to my mind, and I don't have a pet. I'm not even close to have a pet. But imagine that, like you see those videos on YouTube of, like a dog that made a mess, like opened like all sorts of like stuff that he wanted to eat, right? And then you have like the master of the pet that comes and says, what have you done? How does the dog react to that question? Anybody?
Like cowering, like
Cowering, wants to hide, is ashamed, is paralyzed, doesn't know what to do with, wants to like hide under the carpet, right? By the way, we take another metaphor. Let's take the metaphor of a 4 or 5 years old. Went into the cabinet right before dinner. And you're told, okay, sure, you can have dessert or a snack or whatever after you eat your dinner. He goes into hiding and opens the cabinet, takes like 3 or 4 of the bars and opens them, and he has like chocolate all over, and you surprise him. What have you done? Obviously, you're not upset because you love so endlessly your child. So how is the child behaving? What is the reaction of the child? Just about the same. You're thinking about what I'm talking about, yes? Do you visualize it? This is exactly what's happening now with Adam and Eve. They just want to hide. They are ashamed. And they do not take responsibility. What is the dog doing? It's like it just wants to like hide and like it's not me. It's not me. So the child has like chocolate all over. Nothing. What do you mean nothing? You have chocolate all over your face. Nothing? No, I didn't do anything. So the creator goes to Eve first. What have you done? Actually, he goes to man first, and then the man blames the woman. And then the woman blames the snake. The snake doesn't have anybody to blame because that's his nature. But men and women had the free will. The free will was to basically not to fall into the temptation of the desire to receive for yourself alone, the instant gratification. But the Zohar explains that what made them lose that position of being in the Garden of Eden, it's nothing to do with the sin. Nothing to do with the fact that they have done something wrong. So what is it that kicked them out of the Garden of Eden? Shame and guilt and remorse and negative belief system. So as you think about it today, all of us are carriers storing into our body and into our memories all sorts of negative encounters, experiences, all of us. And what makes us lose the position, the job, the gift, the relationship? It's not that. It's not that you've sinned. It's not that this person has done such and such. It's the negative emotions that follows that. When a person does something wrong, it's hard for them to look at themselves in the mirror and not carry that guilt and that remorse. So that guilt and that remorse in the opposite side can be inability, like not being able to forgive, resentment, judgment, victim. And so we have actually, like in the first lesson in Bereshit, we have the remedy on how to not only understand that we were destined to sin. So that's for all the Virgos. I don't know if there are any Virgos on the call. But that's for all the Virgos. There is no way to be perfect. We did not come to be perfect. We actually came to sin. That's the crazy part. We came to sin because it was given to us the ability to redeem ourselves so that we can make the choice between, bless you, between right and wrong. Without making a mistake, there is no way to define that was right and that was wrong. Before you fell in the past, there was no way that you could determine that was a good experience, that was a bad experience. That was a good relationship, that was a bad relationship. There is no way for you to determine the contrast, the difference before you got into that. So we need to know that at the end of the day, we've learned this, we did some classes about the Rav Ashlag and everything, like the writings. It's all predetermined. All the mistakes, all the encounters, all the falling, the main question is, what is the lesson? We came here to learn lessons. And as long as this lesson is not learned, how is this encounter, how this fall, how this experience is serving me? What did this encounter come to teach me? And as long as the lesson isn't learned, there has to be a recurrence. There has to be a repeat. And so the first sin of man is perpetual. As long as we're not going to get it, that the lesson is not going to be learned collectively, we're paying for the sin of Adam. But the sin of Adam is not because of this external man, it's inside of us. Each one of us has a spark of Adam. Each one of us has the spark of Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, etc., etc. In the same way that you can grab or grasp the understanding that you have the DNA of your ancestors. Your ancestors are printed inside your DNA. So technology today can go as far as like 3, 10, whatever lifetimes. Not lifetimes, but lifelines. Today there is even like the DNA test where like we can figure out, you have like 1% this, you have 20% of that, and you have 56% of that. We can go much farther than that. Here you're talking just about a biological test that you can, reroute, where your ancestors are coming from, and it's in your DNA. Like 20 years ago, there was no such test. Can you imagine what kind of test there is going to be like in 5, 10, 20 years from now? So as it's easy to understand that we can find our ancestors within our DNA, we can find the DNA of the first ever human being created, not even on this physical plane, in the spiritual plane. God knows what it was. Maybe we're going to discover that it was like an alien. It was a perfected being. It was a perfected being. What was this perfected spiritual being that downgraded himself? He downgraded himself. It's not the creator. Somebody said, like he got punished. No, he didn't get punished. He punished himself. When we get depressed, sad, or into a bad mood because something happened, we're doing this to ourselves. We're giving our power away. We're letting a situation, an individual take over our happiness. And it dominates our thoughts and we get busy with it. And so if there is anything that we can tap, that we can take away from this, is that perfection exists. And that perfection exists within each one of us. All of us are so busy looking for fulfillment and perfection out of us. When I'll get married, things will be better. When I'll buy a house, things will be better. When I'll get this diploma, I'll get better. When I'll have all this money, it will get better. And we end up searching and on a quest of the next thing over and over again. But this portion tells us we've already been created based on perfection. So deep, deep inside of us, the soul is perfect. It is covered by the body consciousness that is imperfect. And we came with this package of the perfected self, which is the soul, the elevated self, and the body consciousness that we came to correct. What is to correct within the body consciousness? Remove all those layers of selfishness, of victimness, of blame. And so when we're saying, to elevate, it's every single time that we are going through another episode and we blame this person today, and a year ago it was blaming somebody else. It's just the universe giving us another opportunity to do what? To redeem. Not to redeem as in I did something wrong. To redeem as I'm given the opportunity to restore lost energy. It is part of our built-in mechanism that we're going to make mistakes, but together with those mistakes, it is given to us to redeem, to recover, to restore 100% of this energy. 100%. So it means no part of you, no part of your soul gets lost. Did you go through traumas? Did you go through tough times, through challenges and what? Sure. But we can go back to those moments, take the lesson, learn the lessons in my intellect, and let go of the physical and emotional part of it. I don't have to store it inside of me. What Adam did is fall into shame, fall into guilt, and he stored it in. The same as we would be in this situation when we are caught red-handed. We would react exactly the same way because it's part of us. Adam, of the aspect of the sinner, is inside of us. But the Creator would have never put him in this situation if it wasn't built in for him to redeem. The Creator would not ask him the question if he's not giving him the choice, if it is not in him to say, well, actually, I want to confess. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I realized I made a mistake. Lesson learned, I'm committing not to do this again because I realize how much harm, how much settling for less, how much selling myself for less did I go for with biting into the tree of knowledge, good and bad. The ability to redeem would have made him earn, because he was given a choice, earn endless existence, mercy, forgiveness. The Creator wouldn't have put him through the choice, because imagine, it's like you're telling a child, don't play with fire. What is the child going to do? So what do you say it in the first place? If you're a caring parent, like why would you do that? It is actually careless of us to tell this child, you see those matches? Don't play with them because it burns. It's interesting, like this built-in, like a nonsensical thing that exists inside the human being that says, danger. I want to try burn. I want to see how it feels like. I've never felt it before. Well, it's messed up, isn't it? But we do it in so many other ways. Don't do that. You're going to get hurt. So many people and meetings that I've been into that, you get into like self-sabotage, into toxic relationship. You know that this guy, if you get into like you're like a magnet for bad guys. And so there is like this tikkun in you, this karma that will keep drawing this. Why? We're not going to go into the belief system, but you know that it's in you. It is in you because it is given to you, in you, part of you, the ability to make that choice. The choice would not be given to you if you don't have the power and the means to go against it. And the only way that he would have earned eternal life, removal of chaos, removal of the snake consciousness from this universe, just by confessing, redeeming. So the confession that we're talking about is not like the religious aspect, but there is, I'm sure, the spiritual aspect as essence in the confession that we know in religion today. The same as all the rest of the lessons that we can find in religion, the essence is spiritual, was meant to be spiritual. It wasn't meant to become, like a dictatorship or telling people how to do things. Like, like your connection to God is between you and God. And anybody that makes you feel, your connection is through me, that's not God. So the decisions that we're given, especially in times of hardship, especially in times of challenges, as I said, I'm almost like laughing at myself, but they are the greatest opportunities for us to go to the next level. So this is why, I get always a bit concerned about the spiritual process of one of my students when I ask, so how are you doing? And the student tells me, oh, everything is amazing. I'm having a time of my life and everything is great. And I'm like, uh-oh. Think about it. It is only through times of challenges that we go to the next level. If we're not challenged, we are in a loop of routine. In times of routine, we are not growing. We are on cruise. We are neutral, which is good. Right? It feels good. Like you don't have to face all this hardship and conflicts and confrontations, but at the same time, it's like, like when I hear, that's it. I cut the bridge. I'm not talking to this person or that person. Great. Good for you. Usually the person wouldn't be open to hear, oh, so what are you going to do now? Because what you cut yourself out of is not of that individual, is of the opportunity to learn. What is it that you got to learn from this experience? What is the universe trying to teach you with this person that is like rubbing, what's the expression? Rubbing you the wrong way, right? What is why to begin with did this soul volunteer to give you such a hard time to teach you a lesson? Not that this person, Pierre, Paul, and Jacques, came to teach you a lesson. The universe, through this person, is teaching you a lesson. The universe. And this person volunteered, this soul inhabited in this body volunteered to spoil itself, to go into the dirt of the ego, to be mean, to be rejecting, to make you feel bad. Why to begin with did this person go through all this chapter for just you? Like the lesson that you've learned is, oh, which by the way happens a lot. Now we become spiritual, I need to choose my environment. Let me cut myself off of all the people that are giving me a hard time. That's not a spiritual lesson. You just, press the either hold or skip button, and it's just about a matter of time. If the lesson isn't learned, it's just a matter of time. And if you are stubborn and deaf, spiritually deaf, not willing, not wanting to hear what the universe is wanting to teach you, fine, it's not going to be this lifetime. But the lesson has to be learned. So our experience is either going to be through mercy or through judgment. The judgment is when the universe is like, whispering lovingly, sending you all those messages, message on the billboard, the little child crossing the street and, saying something to you. Like the universe has all sorts of ways to make itself heard. But we are stubborn creatures. So we don't like to hear the things that we don't want to hear. So we ignore, we're deaf, spiritually deaf. And so the messages become a little stronger, sometimes harsher. Now, in our experience, they come with judgment, but it's not judgment. It's just a little bit more intense. So we translate everything as good and bad. In the spiritual realm, there is no such a thing as good and bad. It's a life experience. It's a human experience. The moment that life snaps and it's time to transition into the other world, that's it. There is no more good and bad. You look back and you say, wow, I was so stupid, I didn't see it. How did I miss it? Oh my gosh, now I need to go through another lifetime. The lesson learned is the base of everything that was created, the perfection of life, the perfection of your life. The base and the essence of your life is perfection. And so if something happens, good and bad, the answer is right behind it. And if you don't see the answer right away, you need to take a break, pause, ask for help. The universe is trying to teach me something and I really don't see it. Please help. Be open for the help. Either it's direct connection with your spirit guides or with your teacher or with your mother or with whoever it is. The answer is there. Just be open to receive the answer. Anyway, if you don't stop me talking, I just keep talking. Usually it's 30 minutes. Today I see it's 50 minutes. I just didn't see the time pass. So I apologize. In 10 minutes, you have the New Moon Connection, so feel free to join that on Kabbalah.com. Thank you very much for joining our class, and we'll meet again next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Yehuda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.